Hello and welcome to another episode of FPL Journey to 10K, the podcasting series in which we delve into the mind of one of the greatest players to ever play the game, Mr. Matt Corbridge. In his 8 seasons of playing, he's finished in the top 10K 6 times as an average finish of 6,500 and is the former number one in the world. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you might notice that Matt actually isn't on today. He's away on holiday or about to go on holiday, so just has to do a few things. So you're stuck with me. Good news is that just the same. But I thought I'd throw something else, Matt, and together, hopefully ahead of the next game week on the 30th. Matt does get back just before that date, so we'll hopefully get something out to you so we can delve into Matt's team. But let me bring up what has been happening so far mid-game week. Game week 21, just to show you how we are getting on. Uh, Not too much to talk about Matt's team. He's doing pretty well. I don't want to kind of speak on his behalf, but yeah, safety score sort of 28 to 30 points. He's currently on 29 on a green arrow, jumped up from 710,000 to 689. Should really be ahead of that. You'll notice there he has Gordon on his bench, probably doing that just to wind some people up. But Gordon, obviously with a return, a goal, 7 points, and Salah's on his pitch. So that is an automatic substitution waiting to happen. So 36 points is what he's rarely on. The average player in the game has played 6.7 players so far. And Matt, with his 29 on the pitch, has played, what's that? One, two, double for his captain. So four. And then Gordon to come on as his fifth. So he's still got 6 players to go. He's on 36. So he's ahead of the average in terms of the safety score. So there's the green arrow. And he has also got more players than most to go. So he's got what, 4, 5, 6, 7 players to go. So not a bad week for Matt so far. We'll see how the rest of it goes. In terms of his transfers, just in case anybody was looking at that, he sold Son, and Son was sold for Saka. So we'll see if that was a good move or not. He's still got to play his game. And because Matt then also had Trent, he had some red arrows with Son and red arrow with Salah. Trent was out. Taylor could have been out, ended up being out. And Cash obviously didn't start, so he really needed to do something. And he used that second free transfer to get rid of Trent and bring in a Stupinan. So again, still yet to play. See how that goes and the rest of his week goes. But yeah, started off well for Matt. Similar for me, really. So I'm on a red arrow. 25 points for me so far, from 509k down to 553. But I only have 4 players play. So of my 4 players that I've played, Watkins 1 point, but a lot of the game Watkins doesn't do much. I'm going to speak a bit about Watkins a little later on. The other 3 players I played, Palmer decided to go with vice captain and captain Saka, so we'll see if that was a good decision or not later in the game week. But Palmer delivered, got his goal from his penalty and some bonus points on 10. Richarlison got 8, so with his goal, and then Kyle Walker got an assist and 2 bonus points. Looking at FPL live rank, the big 3 threats for me this game week: Foden blanked 2 points, Alvarez blanked 2 points, and Pedro Porro, who matched Walker. So it was for me this week Walker versus Pedro Porro in that sense. But yeah, so it evened out. So only 4 players play for me. So I've still got 8 if you include my captain twice. So a lot to play for. Only 3 to 5 points off of the safety. So yeah, fairly confident I will end up on a green arrow. Not far off that safety score. Only have 4 play compared to the average of 6.7. So yeah, fairly confident. A nice for us both, me and Matt, a nice Arsenal clean sheet wouldn't go amiss. But obviously more for me than Matt. A Saka delivery in that same game would be good. My transfer, I just did the one. I did have 2 free, but I decided I want the information. Kind of hinted at that on the last episode. So I just benched Salah, as you'll see him there. Interesting that, because Egypt drew in their first game, a game that they probably should have won. Last minute penalty in injury time got them a draw. There's a chance he might be back for game week 22. Probably still unlikely, but there is an outside chance that happens. And at which point I won't sell Salah at all. I'll obviously just leave him there on the bench for game week 21. But we'll see what happens there. My actual transfer, so just using one on my free two, was Son out and Gross in. Allow me to play a nice attacking 7 with the bench of Salah. It also meant I could bench Taylor, who was potentially out and ended up being out. I'd not have to start Matty Cash, who again came on from the bench for 1 point. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with that transfer. We'll see what happens with Gross, but even if he doesn't deliver, my other option was Phil Foden, who got 2. So yeah, feeling pretty happy about it. 2 free transfers for next week, which we will talk about um, on the next pod, hopefully with Matt giving his insight. A couple of talking points that has happened between the last time we were with you and now. Big one is the double game week announcement, so I'll touch a little bit on that. But KDB back with a bang, came on for a cameo. What a cameo it was! Over, well, so far the highest scoring player of the game week with 12 points. I know a lot of people are really looking to push it and go straight in with KDB for this Burnley game. So I'll touch a little bit on that. Pedro Porro becoming a must. I've got some stats to discuss Pedro Porro, but even when he concedes 2, he gets 2 bonus points and assist. He has absolutely been delivering, but I'll touch on him. Not just his delivery, but potential impact on his future delivery. That'll become apparent when I speak about it. And then also what's happening with Ollie Watkins. I think a few players, including myself, might be getting a little bit frustrated with him not delivering how he was. But yeah, we'll touch a little bit on Watkins and his delivery as well. So yeah, we'll jump in, as I say, with that double game week and what is going on there. Excuse me whilst I just write down the time. This is just for the YouTube chapters, so I just need to put that in. But we've had an announcement of upcoming double game week guaranteed and then some potential blanks. So the very first column you'll see on the left, these have been guaranteed games. So Man City and Brentford both played twice in game week 25. Chelsea have got Liverpool at home, and not Liverpool at home even, not Chelsea at all. Man City have got Chelsea at home and then Brentford at home. So 2 home games for City. I think that'll mean a lot of us are starting to drive towards City assets. A lot of us have sold Haaland. I can see why people are going for KDB. In my personal team, I've only got Walker. So yeah, some work to potentially be done there to try and benefit from that double game week. And Brentford have got Liverpool at home and then City away. Bit more of a difficult double game week for them, but they one thing I do want to note on Brentford is they have a double game week in 25. If you look at game week 29, so I'll skip the middle one for now, but if you look at potential blank game week 29, there's 9 games there. The only game that is guaranteed to be played, regardless, because both teams have been knocked out of the FA Cup, is Burnley versus Brentford. That is guaranteed to still go ahead. So Brentford have a double game week in game week 25 and are guaranteed to play in game week 29 when a lot of these, any other team other than Burnley, could well miss out. So between game week 25 and 29, they're playing 6 times. Some teams might play 3, might play 4, especially if you look at somebody like Liverpool, who don't have the double game week like Brentford do in 25. In game week 26, if they can beat Fulham in the League Cup, they'll get a blank because they'll be playing in the League Cup final. And then they've got to play Norwich in the FA Cup, which you'd expect them to win, which means they think blank in game week 29 as well. So it's just an interesting one that for me because it really puts Brentford as a real option. I might want to see how Ivan Toney gets on, but the fact that they're going to play 6 times in that period, and some teams, as I say, like Liverpool, might play 3 times, really does sell their assets. So something to bear in mind. That blank game week 26, haven't touched on that yet, but it all depends on the League Cup. So if Middlesbrough beat Chelsea, that Chelsea Spurs game, that is at the top there, that'll go ahead. But obviously, if Chelsea can turn that fixture around, Chelsea and Spurs will blank. And then it's one of the next 2 will definitely be off as well. So Liverpool taking a 2-1 lead to Fulham. If they can avoid defeat of Fulham, Liverpool Luton will be off. If Fulham can turn it around, then United versus Fulham will be off. The good news with this one is we'll know who's going to blank before the beginning of the next game week. So you can really utilise that. So before game week 22, we'll know which of those games is off. Could be 1, could be 2. But you'll know, so you'll get informed. This is why Matt always talks about doing late transfers because it just allows you to get more information. Because you'd hate to, go and buy Diogo Jota, for example, now, and then find out, oh, actually, in game week 26 he's going to blank, and then in game week 29 he's going to blank. So it's important to kind of hang fire. So that's just a very quick overview of the doubles and potential blanks coming up. Looking on at a couple of players. So I mentioned I'd talk about Kevin De Bruyne, something I want to touch on. A lot of players FPL managers have bought him in already. He's 14% owned, which is crazy to me. He's been out since game week 1. Came back basically telling us, "I'm not going to start." Pep said, He's not going to start. He's going to play as a cameo. Uh, Fair play to the people that did get him because obviously he came off the bench, got a goal, got an assist, got 3 bonus points, ended up on 12. A real gamble that paid off. And I'm sure I'll get Matt's opinion on KDB next week. But I thought I'll get some. If you ever use the FPL Scout, you'll notice that there's always FPL experts that give their opinion, and I've thrown a few of them on screen, uh, and it seems split. So on the left, I've got 2 that want to say buy now. On the right, I've got 2 that are basically saying don't buy yet, but he's very much top of their watch list. So Ben Crabtree's on here, buy now, former winner of FPL, won the whole thing. I don't know exactly what season, but definitely won the whole thing. And his point is basically you want KDB regardless of Haaland. It's a separate decision altogether. If KDB is on form and when Haaland comes back, you're going to need both, so you may as well get him now. Nick Harris, also one of their experts, is talking about you're probably going to want, especially ahead of that double game week, a triple Man City attack, and probably the best 3 are going to be a Foden, a De Bruyne, a Haaland. But he does make the point that if you have De Bruyne and Haaland, with the money, you're probably going to struggle then to get a Salah or a Son when they return. The budget's going to be tight. But his advice is also buy now. As opposed to that, as we've spoke a little bit about Black Box, me and Matt, both listeners. So as has made the point that it's a plum fixture, but he's still building fitness. And it's and don't buy now. And then Sam Bonfield, who's quite regularly on the FPL podcast itself, says very similar. At the end of the match, KDB was talking about his fitness and basically saying he's not ready for intensity for more than a substitution appearance for now, which makes sense. He's been out since game week 1. So someone to look at if he plays against Spurs. Absolutely makes sense to do that. That game comes before the next FPL deadline for game week 22. But the point is, De Bruyne is still basically saying, I'm not ready to start a game. And Matt always speaks about the importance of getting in players that are 90-minute merchants. So whilst KDB isn't, I'm siding with Az and Sam. And for me, is do not buy until I start to see that he starts. That said, you can't argue with the stats. He's played 43 minutes this season, which is crazy. 21 minutes, 21 game weeks in, should I say. So 43 minutes. He has a goal and an assist. Now, that is a slight overperformance. It's a very small sample, 43 minutes. But he should have had, in his 43 minutes, 0.6 goal involvements. He's ended up on 2. So he is slightly overperforming. But his expected goal involvement per 90 is 1.34, which puts him at number 1 in the game for that metric. But again, he's played 43 minutes. So it's a very small data to work off. At the end of the day, obviously, take the gamble if you want. I think, again, we'll get Matt's opinion next time, but I think for me, until you know he's playing, it seems like a wait for now, and I'm pretty sure Matt will say the same. Pedro Porro. So we had FPL Matt asking about Pedro. I assumed he meant this one. I think he did mean this one, didn't he? But Pedro Porro seems to be Mr. Consistent. So I've made some notes on the right there. He's the 3rd highest scoring defender in the game with 83 points. Interestingly, never had a double-digit return this season. His highest is 8, I believe, but he's never hit the double. But at the same time, in the 20 games he's played this season, he's only blanked in 7. So he's delivered either on bonus points, on clean sheets, or on assists in 13 of his 20 games, which is a hell of a return. So far this season, he's played just shy of 1,800 minutes. Yet to score, but he did score in the FA Cup, so potentially that's coming into his game. He's been threatening in the league. He just hasn't managed to do it, but did it in the FA Cup. But he does have 8 assists, most of any defender, more than Trent, more than Trippier, more than any defender. It is the most. Expected goal involvement of 6.7, so again, slightly overperforming his metrics, but expected goal involvement per 90 of 0.33, which for a defender is pretty solid. You expect maybe Trippier, maybe Trent to be at those numbers, maybe Robbo in previous seasons, but Pedro 0.33 and under 6 million. It's a good metric, a good return on it. So yeah, he's Mr. Consistent, building those points. However, word of caution, and probably one of the reasons I'm not going to bring Pedro Porro in, partly because he's 5.8 million. It takes up a bit of my budget that I'll probably need to get Haaland back if I'm not selling Salah. But Madison's due to return very shortly. Might be the next game week, might be the game week after. But he's now down to an amber. So ankle injury, 50% chance of playing. And I've looked at the metrics. So Madison's injury came in game week 11. So I've looked at the metrics for Pedro Porro prior to that and then after that. His expected goal involvement per 90 when Madison's in the team is 0.19 compared to when Madison isn't in the team when it's 0.47. And I think that's quite simply to do with the set pieces. Madison was taking most of the set pieces prior to his injury. Since his injury, Pedro Porro is basically second in line. So he's been taking the corners, he's been taking a lot of the whipping the balls into the box from free kicks, all of that sort of stuff. But you've got to think when Madison's back, he will probably go back on the set piece duty. So it's a big difference, without a 0.47 goal involvement, with Madison 0.19. It's more than double the expected output when Madison isn't in the team. So he's getting one return every other game by the metrics without Madison, 1 in 5 with Madison. So for me, that makes Porro less of a choice, knowing that Madison will be back pretty shortly. Um, so yeah, you might not think the same. That's obviously my opinion, and again, we'll probably speak to Matt about Pedro Porro and see some of the metrics when Madison's back to see if that continues. But yeah, you've got to think Madison's going to start taking some of those set pieces. On to Watkins. Um, I'm in a position, probably like most, where I need a striker spot to get Haaland in. I've got Solanke, I've got Nunes, I've got Watkins. Solanke's doing what I need him to, and he's the cheapest out of the lot. I can get to Watkins in one move, from Watkins to Haaland due to the money I've got in the bank. I can't do that with Nunes. I'm 0.1 million shy. So I'm kind of looking at Watkins and thinking, is that a potential better move than selling Nunes? And I've put some data together because he's not been performing the last 6 game weeks. And just to prove that, tables on the left-hand side. Game week 1 to 15. In those 15 games, Watkins got 17 returns. Unbelievable. 17 returns in 15 games, 8 goals, 9 assists. His expected goal involvement was 8.59, so he was vastly, vastly overperforming. But he won a few penalties that obviously he doesn't take, but so it got counted as an assist, so on and so forth. But expected goal involvement per 90 of 0.79. So even if he followed that metric, he's still getting 12 goal returns in that first 15 game weeks, which is an impressive output. In the last 6 game weeks, however, 1 goal, 2 assists. Expected goal involvement of 2.47. Expected goal involvement per 90 of only 0.42. So his potential output in terms of stats is halved. And if you look at game week 15 to 21, that table on the right, he's had 1 big chance. And when you compare him to some of the others on that list, Solanke had 5, Pedro had 3. Granted, all 3 of them were probably penalties. But Isaac's had 9, Alvarez has had 6, Jimenez has had 3, Nunes has had 5, Calvert-Lewin's had 7. So he's had 1 big chance in the last 6 game weeks, 7 game weeks. And he's only converted of his shots 5% of them, which, just to put that in context, people take the mick out of Darwin Nunes. And I agree, Darwin Nunes' conversion's only been 6.7%, but it's still better than Watkins has been. He's just, I don't know, he's just absolutely dropped off in the last 7 game weeks, and there's been better options, far better options, as the table on the right shows you. Solanke's outscored him, for example. Um, Pedro's got the same score as him. But yeah, the point is, you can see from the metrics there, he's not been producing. Um, one big chance is horrendous for a team that are third in the league. You expect their main striker to have more than that. That said, do I want to sell them? I've also put on their fixtures over the next 9 game weeks. And especially over the next 6, there's a lot of green. So they've got, for anybody that can't see, they've got Newcastle at home, Sheffield United away, Man United at home, Fulham away, Forest at home, Luton away. The Sheffield United, Fulham, Forest, and Luton game are very nice. They're green on the fixture ticker, pretty plump. You'd expect him to potentially be in and amongst the goals and assists. And then the other two that aren't quite so nice are Newcastle and Man United, but they're both at Villa Park. And we've seen Villa go to Villa Park and beat Arsenal and beat Man City. They're a different animal at home. They're a really good side playing at Villa Park. So again, you're looking at those fixtures, and you'd hate yourself if you sold him, right? If you sold him and he starts banging, and you've got somebody like Nunes in your team instead, and we've seen what Nunes frustrates, right? Uh, yeah, you'd hate yourself for it. I would. So the way I'm looking at this is, I would rather sell Watkins. Sorry, start again. I would rather sell Nunes and have Nunes hit double digits than sell Watkins. I'd regret it more with Watkins. His effective ownership's far higher as well. Nunes is a bit of a differential. So for that reason, I'll probably end up keeping him. Um, but we'll see what the changes bring. Tillemans is back. He's playing a bit closer to Watkins. Tillemans is a creative outlet, so maybe with Tillemans there and those fixtures, you'll start to see Watkins' digits get back to that what was in game week 1 to 15. But it's one to watch. If he doesn't start performing, potentially it is time to move him on. But yeah, just bringing you those stats because, as I say, I think a lot of people will be looking to potentially move him on. I thought I'd give a quick overview of Matt versus Dave, but it's absolutely pointless because none of our players have played. So just to recap, Matt's got Tony still to play, Jota still to play. I've got Havertz and Gross. I'm 2 up, but I'm not confident. I quite like Gross. I think he'll do me well. But I also think Tony will probably do well. I think Jota will probably do well, and I think Havertz is going to get benched. Uh, Havertz was really good against Liverpool though in the FA Cup. I'm hoping Arteta saw what I did in him. He had at 1 point more shots than the entire Liverpool team put together. He was making things happen. I know Arsenal haven't been putting the ball in the back of the net, but the stats suggest that they should. In the last 3 or 4 games, might be 4, 61 shots, only 1 goal. That's got to change. The getting big chances and just not finishing them off. The quality in that team's too good for that not to change. So I'm expecting that to change, and hopefully it's this game week. As a Liverpool fan, I don't want it to change at all because I'd like them to not win. As an FPL trying to beat Matt in differential picks, I'm very much hoping Havertz gets on the score sheet in that game. So yeah, time will tell. Time will tell. But yeah, just a quick one today. As I say, Matt should be back with us. I just thought I'd give my thoughts, give you an overview of where we're both at midweek, and also give those overviews on a couple of players which I know are being spoke about in the community: KDB, Pedro Porro, and Watkins. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like, give us a subscribe. It does help us out and helps other people to find us as well. As I say, Matt should be back with me for the next one, so keep your eye out for that. Hopefully, we'll do that ahead of game week 22 kicking off. If not, I'll look to get something out myself just to let you know what I'm doing with my team, and I'll also text Matt and get his thoughts and opinions and can share them with you. Hopefully, we'll catch you for that one. All the best. Enjoy the extended game week and the next 5 fixtures this game week over the weekend. Wish you the best of luck with it, and I'll catch you on the next one.